We are back. Peanut Gallery's getting some more wine, and I will be talking about the Guerrero family, with Peanut Gallery going out what Guerrero means and how significant it was. I want to talk about how significant this family is to the wrestling industry. Now, other than like the Hart family and everything like that, this family lineage is only 3 generations old. The first person in the Guerrero family was Salvatore Guerrero Quesada. Excellent. So, also keep in mind, the Guerrero last name was not their last name at all.
Ooh, yes,
no,
it wasn't.
No person.
They adopted that last name.
They adopted it in the ring name only. So Salvador Guerrero Quesada, or Gory Guerrero, was the patriarch and the first generation of the wrestling dynasty that we know of as the Guerrero families. He was born in Ray, Arizona, to a family of migrant workers. His family moved back to Mexico after his mother passed away when he was 9, and he wrestled in EMLL, the predecessor to CMLL, from 1943 to 1966, when he refused to drop the NWA World Light Heavyweight Champion to Ray Mendoza, if I'm not mistaken, because he had a dispute with the promoter at the time.
Oh, fun.
Yes, so with Salvador Guerrero, the one thing that made him really popular with the crowd at the time was because EMLL was a transient based promotion where a lot of their most popular stars were not of Mexican heritage. He and maybe 2 other people were the only ones at the time who ranked up to main event status at that time who are Mexican in heritage. And it's kind of crazy. Think of how long EMLL has been around. I think they started in like 1941. It's one of the oldest promotions right now going. He was also a former national middleweight champion, a welterweight champion, and a world welterweight champion. This guy was like 5'11" and like 170 pounds. He was never a heavyweight. But he was also credited for not only being one of the most popular Mexican origin wrestlers at the time, but he was the innovator of multiple moves, such as all the different variations of the Gory Special, the back-to-back stretch, and also the La de Cambalo, which is the camel clutch. Yeah. Yes. So, with Gory Guerrero out of the way, we're just going to do brief ones because we have a lot of kids to talk about here. Let's talk about his firstborn, Salvador Guerrero III, or that we know and love, Chavo Guerrero Sr., Chavo Classic, or the original Chavo Guerrero. He is the oldest son, born in 1949. He was best known in the Universal Wrestling Federation, the UWF, not the one you know of, the American Wrestling Association, the AWA, and obviously WWE. He also wrestled in Houston, in Mid-South, in Smoky Mountain. He wrestled in the NWA wrestling in Hollywood. He also wrestled in All Japan, so he wrestled a lot of places. He won the NWA American Heavyweight Champion 15 times. He won the America's Tag Team Champion 11 times. He won the NWA World Light Heavyweight Champion 2 times. And him being the oldest WWE Cruiserweight Champion ever. Okay. Unfortunately, he has passed away now. But I think Gory Guerrero, or not Gory Guerrero, but Chavo Guerrero Sr. was the first taste of the Guerrero family in America. Gory Guerrero really never wrestled outside of it, and if he did, it was very rare. So he was really one of the first ones to go mainstream with it, being signed to multiple promotions in the United States. Right. Let's go from there to the second born, Armando Guerrero Lamas, or Mondo Guerrero. He had a very brief wrestling career, starting in 1971 through 1994, as in comparison to his brothers. I don't believe there was a sister, actually, in their family at all. He won he was in the NWA Hollywood Wrestling. He was in All California Championship Wrestling. He was in World Wrestling Association. He began his career as a Hollywood stuntman in 1977. Gene LaBelle suggested Guerrero work as a stuntman after meeting him with brother Mike LaBelle's wrestling promotion, actually, because of his unorthodox style. So he thought that would be a great opportunity for him. So his work in stunts actually got him to the Eve of Destination in 1991, Red Surf in 1990, Falling Down in 1993, Big Steel Little in 1995, My Giant, Critical Mass, Picking Up the Pieces, Submerged, and The Shrink is in 2001. He is now a stunt coordinator, so he's actually still working. Okay. And he was one of the original wrestling trainers in the original Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. So, that was in the 1980s. So, cool stuff there. Let's go to Hector Manuel Guerrero Lanas, or Hector Guerrero. Obviously, we know him from TNA as one of their first Spanish commentators, really giving a lot of credence to that. We always joked, I remember Peanut Gallery and I joking, that Hector Guerrero looked like fucking Eddie Guerrero if Eddie Guerrero lasted longer than 38.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. So he currently owns a consulting company for professional wrestling. He was born in 1954, by the way. Third son in. So yes, he owns the Professional Wrestling Consulting Company, which was started in 2015, and he debuted in professional wrestling in 1974. He wrestled in the AWA, NWA, ECW before it became Extreme, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and Mid-South Wrestling, WCW, among many other promotions, because at this point, the Guerrero name has been, synonymous with wrestling and a very well-known name, especially in California. Yep. He's also known as being the gobbledygooker in WWF. He had won many championships in some promotions, such as NWA Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Florida, and the Jim Crockett promotions. So, a successful career, but nothing like Chavo Classic or Gory at this point. Let's talk about, now this is going to be the last son. This is Eduardo Gory Guerrero Lanas, or Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero, he was the baby of the family.
Yep.
We all know about him.
Born in 1967. I don't think I really need to go through the accolades of Eddie. Really one of the
WCW, WWF, WWE.
a legend in the business, taken from us way too soon, but I don't think I have to go through his whole entire career arc.
Who's Eddie Guerrero?
Right, some of for being people who are, and at this point we really know Eddie as a part of the rest of the Guerreros. Right. Because every other Guerrero started their careers in the 70s.
He started his in the 90s.
Yeah, he started his much later because he was
late 80s, early
90s. He was born much later. Hector Manuel Guerrero, which was the third son, was born in 1954, and Eddie Guerrero was born in 1967.
Right.
So there was a big difference there within that.
That's why he kind of identified a lot with that third generation of Guerreros, not necessarily the second.
Yes. No, now let's go into the widowers and the third generation of the Guerrero family as they carve out their current eras. Vicky Guerrero.
Okay, who Vicky Guerrero is.
Right, obviously the widow of Eddie. She still uses the name, and to what I am aware of, that the family is totally cool with it as well. I don't think I have to say much. Salvador Guerrero IV, also known as Eddie Guerrero. His debut was in 1994, and his career is still going strong. As of right now, he's on Indies. He is not signed with anywhere specifically.
In Mexico or in the U.S.?
In both.
Okay.
Yeah, in both. He primarily wrestles here, but he does go there for the Crash promotion that Conan does, because his association with the Guerrero family is very vast. Stop. Anyway, Charles-Marie Raoult, I butchered that immensely, but we're going to roll with it, or Charles Guerrero, the daughter of Eddie Guerrero. Her debut was in 2011, and she was trained by Florida Championship Wrestling and the WWE Performance Center. She was one of the original female competitors when they transitioned from Florida Championship Wrestling to NXT that we know now.
She didn't wrestle in NXT, though.
She did.
Oh,
she wrestled as Raquel Diaz. So if you ever want to watch her, she's Raquel Diaz. She works in indies, but she's also carving her own career path, not only as a wrestler, but a burlesque dancer in Chicago.
Okay.
Her stage name, if you ever want to watch her, is Mix Nixon. So she was the announcer for the most part, actually now, on AEW's Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament. And she also wrestled in Lucha Underground. Yeah. So, and obviously, let's talk about the final one that's at least currently in wrestling. Matthew, I'm not going to butcher that name again, also known as Aiden English.
There we go. That's the one. What about Chavo Guerrero Jr.?
I already talked about him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, Salvador Guerrero the Fourth, Chavo Guerrero.
Right. Isn't he part of the same generation, though?
So, yeah, no, he's part of the same generation as them because he was the son of Chavo Classic.
Right.
But now, keep in mind, people, is that... Now, here's kind of where it gets confusing.
I'm kind of confused. I'm like,
right.
You even mention Chavo Guerrero?
I did mention Chavo Guerrero.
Okay.
So what it was is that Gory Guerrero's first son was born in 1949, and Eddie Guerrero was born in 1967.
When was Chavo born?
Chavo Guerrero was born in 1970.
Oh wow! Okay.
So he even though that Eddie Guerrero was technically his nephew, he was actually closer in age with Eddie.
Kind of like Roman Reigns and the Usos.
Right.
Even though they're part of different generations, they're born so close in age that they might as well literally be cousins.
Right. Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero, I mean, really for the most part, grew up together, which is why I think it kind of missed on you because it's such a close age difference.
I thought you were going generation by generation. Sorry about that.
Well, I was going generation by generation because then I got to Vicky, but then I talked about Salvador Guerrero. I mean, that's really how close that age was that you just, like, it totally went off of your head.
Yeah. No,
right.
Fine.
So anyway,
talk about Aiden English.
Aiden English, married to Shaw in 2014. Obviously, his WWE career is very fresh in his mind right now.
Yep.
He is currently working the independent circuit, and he also has a YouTube channel called Wrestling with Whiskey, where he uploads whiskey takings, Q&As, etc. And he uploads that to his YouTube channel.
Excellent.
So, the overall arc, and there are other children in the Guerrero family because, Eddie had 2 daughters, and, Chavo Guerrero was, we were going to see more, but at the end of the day, the second generation actually didn't have a whole lot of kids. Really, no. Eddie and Chavo Classic were the only 2 that actually had children that we're aware of. So we're going to see the Guerrero family really go out and really spread, but just keep in mind...
It's not going to be the classic Guerrero name that we're used to. It's going to be a little more American flair, if you know what I mean.
Right, it really is. And
Aiden English.
We have Aiden English. I mean, really, Chavo Guerrero, and when he has children, or if he does, the sons.
He's not going to, but
right at this point, no. If he doesn't have any at this point, but whatever. But we will. I mean, I feel like the Guerrero family will live on in some way, shape, or form. But if for some reason it only goes 3, my God, what a lineage, what a history of for a family that was only been in wrestling for such a brief amount of time.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, 3 generations starting in the 50s. That's,
That's nothing.
Right, exactly. So that was kind of a nice little Guerrero flair. So when we come back, we are going to be covering Fastlane. All right.